Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and I have been wanting to do this piece for a long time. I needed the right mold for it, and I needed to kind of wrap my head around how I was going to do it, and the patterning I was wanting to do, and a couple of different things. So I think I finally have things the way I want them to be. I had made, so here's my mold that has a container that it sits inside, so I don't have to worry about going, any which way. So here's my mold. It's quite big. I am using this. It is a mat on the inside, so I know I'm going to have to, if I want to have my inside of what I'm putting in this show up, I'm going to have to either spray it or I'm going to need to put UV resin on it or two-part epoxy or do something with it so what I want you to see, you can see. So this is what we're using. This is a piece I have already made with mixed mold. I think I used 500 grams for this, which didn't completely fill it, but I was playing around with colorings again and whatnot. So all in all, it's okay. This side is much brighter than the other side. Anyway, all in all, it came out okay. I want to decorate it up a little bit. What am I going to do? I haven't got a clue, and that's okay because that's not what this video is all about. And now that I've been handling that, I've got to wipe off my hands because they're covered in dust. That's the one thing, when you start sanding the mixed mold or any of the ceramic resins, you're going to want to make sure you wipe them down properly before you handle them or do anything else with them. Okay, what am I putting in here? I have a strip of, and I'm probably not going to be able to see it all. I have a strip of one of my acrylic pours that I did a long time ago. And we are going to use this in the mold, and what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to fold it. I'm going to fold it and then place it inside here, and then all I'm going to do is I am just pouring clear resin in this. Will there be some sparkle in it? Not sure yet, but that's all I'm doing to this piece. Now you may be wondering, because you might be able to see something on the inside, I have, and this is sort of where it came the extra time, I did decorate with a stencil and using the Distress Oxides by Tim Holtz. I did a pattern. I then put and used one of my Posca pens, the gold, to fill in around the pattern because I didn't like it just white. I have used some stickers to decorate the inside of this, and I wish my camera view, so I'm just going to pull it down like that. And what I really need to do, and I think will be the best for me to do, is to spray this so that it seals the coloring, because I'm a little concerned that with the Distress Oxide, it is water-based. I know I'm dealing with a resin, but again, I don't know if that's going to impact the coloring. It might look cool if it did, but I really don't want it to, and I just want to make sure everything's sort of sealed up from a canvas perspective. And I have more than enough varnish, as you know that already, that it shouldn't be a big deal. I'll just find one of my sprays, because if I try and brush with this having Distress Oxide on it, that I can definitely see. And I don't know what it would do to the Posca pen. I really don't want to mess this up. Spraying it, to me, would be the best. I am not at all concerned about this side. Not at all. This isn't going anywhere. Anyway, the other thing is how I'm going to hold this together. So I've drawn a line on this pattern. I could cut some of this off, but just because I'm going to leave it there. So what's going to end up happening is we are going to line this up just past that line. Have I got that the right way? I've got that the right way. I might have to trim this down a bit. And the way I want to hold it together is using brads. And I have not a lot, but enough of these. And I am going to end up punching holes in it with this, which I think they use for leather belts and whatnot. But I've often used this, and I can just twist the handle. Gotta make sure I go the right way to get the size I need. And then we'll mark the holes. We'll put the brads in. You know what? I'm probably going to cut this down a little bit more because it will fit in there. It's a little too big. Like if I were to just go like this, then it gets a little too big. So I have to pull it in a little bit. So we'll put, and I'm hoping to get 3 holes because I think it would be a good idea to have this held with 3. I have 2 of these big ones, and then in the center I want to put the smaller one. And as I sort of, you know, talking through this, I think it would be better if I trimmed this up a little bit, this end of it, so that I don't have so much overhang. I think that'll be a good idea. Anyway, so the first thing I have to do is I need to spray this so I can seal it up properly. The other thing I had thought about doing, and of course you know me by now, you've seen enough of my videos that I am constantly thinking of other ideas for things. One of the things I had thought about was, with my Temu order, you had seen, let me get this out of the way, some of the really intricate and thin molds that I had gotten. And I had thought what I could have done, and this is just a random piece I made. This is not for right now anything. This was one of the random pieces I made, and I had thought to myself, well, maybe what I could do, because these will fit down the side. I mean, it'd be a close call. Can you see me doing that? Maybe not. Let me go. Like it might be a bit of a close call putting these down the side, but it would work. And I had thought what I could have done is put these on. I'd have to have trimmed them up, obviously, to make them fit or angle them somehow. I had thought about putting these on the inside as the decoration, but because I don't want to mess this up, and I don't want to run into an issue with these, because I could easily, you know, glue these down somehow and then have them on the inside. I just have to be really careful placing it into the mold, that it was far enough so I didn't end up with air bubbles, but it was a thought. I also, too, if I wanted to, could have thrown them on the outside. So this is a potential for another video, another project where I actually use these, because these molds, as much as they're intricate as all get out, they truly are beautiful molds. So I'm really, really glad I bought them. So that won't be happening in this video, but what I will do is I'm probably going to cut this down a bit. I'm going to, well, obviously after I have sprayed this, sealed it up, we'll end up putting in the holes for the brads, and as I say, this will fit in. It's upside down now, don't worry about that. I'm going to do my, actually that's the way I'm going to want this in there, isn't it? Because when it comes out, ooh, upside down, Natalie, upside down. Okay, so we have some room to breathe in here as far as, you know, being able to cut it down a little bit. So that'll be the inside of it when it comes out of the mold. So I'll just have to really be careful, and I might do my resin in one sort of mini layer first and then end up moving it up. Let me just, because as I've got that, I'm just going to pull this together a little bit more. It's so interesting. You think you've got it, and then, you know, you don't have it, and yeah, life goes on and on. I wish and I don't have any. I was thinking if I had some paper clips, that would be great. But I really just, you know, to be honest, I just need a little bit of room all the way around for the resin to get down and around it. And yeah, so once I have this sprayed and I've, you know, cut it down a little bit more, and I, you know, as I keep thinking about that, do I need a bit more space? And I think I'll be okay if I do it. I'll just have to, excuse me, make sure I've got enough space around it. And another thing I had thought of doing for the bottom was getting another piece of this particular pour, because I think I have enough, would be to cut this out so you could see the bottom. But I think just to keep it simple for me right now is I'm not going to do that with this piece. I may just, yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it. But so that's where we're starting from. Once I have this sprayed and probably cut down, and who knows, I'll probably measure it 100 more times to make sure that I'm not cutting it down too much. We will mix up resin, maybe throw some sparkle in, maybe not, and move on with this project. I'll see you in a bit. I have now coated this with a clear glossy spray to seal in the color, the dioxide that I put on this, the distress dioxide. So actually what I like about it is it's actually made it a little brighter on the inside. It was more muted before, and now that has helped bring the color forward, which is, I really like it. When I saw that it had done that, I thought that's really perfect. A couple of little things I thought I'd show you. I had, while I was out in my garage spraying this, I also sprayed the back of a couple of the pieces I had made using the Temu molds because, well, I wanted to. And that one's not the right way. And then this one I sprayed on the back as well. What I'm definitely going to want to do is I'm going to play some more and use some of my either my chrome markers or my paint markers or something just to work on bringing some detail out on these pieces. I think if you were doing this, either you have to do the detail on the mold before you pour your resin, or you're going to have to do it after, so you can get the detail and people can see what it is. So that's going to be a little painstaking to do because it's going to be very, I mean, you don't have a lot to work with, and maybe it's just a matter of going over the top and hoping that you're just touching the top where the lines are. Anyway, I wanted to show those to you, and I was doing some curiosity for myself, just spray painting and seeing how they would look because they were both relatively clear resin when I poured them into the mold. All right, enough of that. Let's move on. Okay, I have got this set now to the right hole punch. I tested it on a piece of paper. I'm going to recommend you do that so that you make sure you've got the right size so you're not having to do it again. Or if you've got another way, I mean, if I didn't have this, I'd probably take a nail to it and do my holes. This is, I did my best to make this width, side to side, 3 inches. So what we're going to do is, and I've got my ruler out, decided approximately where I wanted my holes to be, and I just want to make sure I'm in view. So if we do this like this, I want to get as close to this edge as possible with my holes without messing up and, you know, marking where I shouldn't. So you're going to have to bear with me because this takes a little bit of concentration on my part because I want to get it right, because I figure I got one kick at the can, and if I kick it wrong, we're going to be out of luck. So what I figured I would do is the 2 big ones, I'm going to bring in 1/4 of an inch from each end, and then I want to put the small one basically what I consider to be in the middle. So I'm just going to very lightly with my pencil mark where I want these to go and approximately where I want to, you know, put the holes. Like I say, I want to get as close to the edge as possible without messing this up. So we'll see how I do. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. The big and main thing is that it holds together at the end of the day. That's really what the big thing is about. So this will do the other end as well. Obviously, we have to have holes in both ends to join these two. Let's do this again. Yeah, so I think I did a relatively good job when I cut this, that I got 3 inches along. That's got to be one of the most challenging things I find, is getting things like a straight line. And some of the cutting that I use them to cut cardstock and whatnot. Some of them, I swear, they're not lined up. I actually just recently got a Fiskars. I love Fiskar products because I think they're really well made and they're guaranteed for life. And I love Fiskars. And actually, I've been very fortunate with the one I've got so far. Okay, so we have to remember that when we're doing this, that we cover up the lines. So let me just look and see how this is going to work for me. Because what I might have to do is, I don't think I can punch through both pieces at once, but I do have to make sure that I am beyond my line, right? Because we don't want to see that. Not that I don't know that you would, and if I put it at the end, well, actually, where am I going to put this? I'd probably put this in a corner. I'm going to have to see how that fits. But anyway, it'll be relatively flat, so I'm not concerned about that. I'm just trying to think of where. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to punch the holes out of this end first. And I think I'm pretty much going to put, now you're going to need to apply a bit of pressure to this. And maybe once I get this done, then we'll maybe just, well, we'll see what I'm going to do. Patience, Natalie, patience. Yeah, they may not be straight lined up together, but let's hope they're relatively close. Because that'd be really nice, wouldn't it? So thankfully, we got through that relatively easily. So let me just see. What I might see about doing is, once I figure out where this needs to line up, then maybe what I'll do is if I line it up like this, that might be, as I'm being very quiet, as I'm thinking, because I want to make sure I get this right. I just want to make sure I get it right. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold it like this, because that hole's already there. And I'm going to line it up, and I'm just going to punch through that hole. I can see well, if I got to put my other glasses on. It's one of those things, you're going to want to take your time on it, because you're going to want to get it in the right spot. So I'm going to be very careful. Let go. Let go. Okay. Now, my only problem with that one in the middle, yeah, I'm not going to be able to reach. So I'm going to have to do that one differently. I'll have to line it up once I get these done. So line that up again. Make sure my holes line up. If it's, I'm going to be okay if this isn't perfect, because again, I think we'll be okay if it's not. Right, let's take this apart. And now what I think I'm going to do is just on the inside. Yeah, see, I'm not sure I'm 100% lined up with this, but that's okay. I'm going to deal. Yeah, one's up, one's down. All right. Now I'm going to try and get the, and hopefully, okay, I hope you got your fingers crossed for me. I'll get this right. Get them lined up. Put in the pins, as it were. Like I say, it may not be perfect, but I'm going to be okay with that. All right, so let's then open these up. And I guess the other thing I should have watched a little bit, okay, we'll do these one at a time, otherwise they're just going to fall out, is that with the roundness, like the depth of that one, that I didn't get too close to the edge on that. But so there's one in. Now I am a little bit off, but again, I think we're going to be okay. Are you really going to see this? Not, well, I guess it all depends where it lands, right? Oh, come on, I can't even see that to open it up. I'm going to turn that way so it's, yeah, I have to think about that, but anyway. Okay. All right, now what I've done is, and I'm not sure how well you're going to see this, but I'm going to do my best. So do you see how I went this way? I did that because if I turned it the other way, they're going to be on the outside. The middle one I put side to side, and then so the two on the end had to go this way, because otherwise, and the only other thing I could do is, if I wanted to, is to snip these off. But you know, I'm okay with that being like that. And I do know that I have to place this in upside down, or I'm going to have a mistake at the end of the day on this if I don't do that. So now we've got that. So let's just, I'm going to clean out my mold. I'll do that off camera. I want to get my pencil back where it belongs. Okay, so let's just throw this in here. Okay, so we've done pretty good. And I am going to probably mix up about, I figured 100 mils. I don't know how much resin this thing's going to take. And I figured put in 100 mils, let it sort of set itself up, and then I'll pour the rest of it in. And what I might do on the top here, just to kind of keep it away from the edge, is find something that may be just the right, just to hold it. Now, I want something that's not too heavy. That's going to slide down. That'll just kind of hold things away from the side. And then I got thinking a little bit too, if when I put this in the resin, I'll probably end up putting a top coat of UV resin around the top of it, in case you can feel my canvas through the top, right? Because it's going to be sitting down there on the bottom. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can't find something to prop this just away from some of the spots, so that the canvas isn't right up against the center of this or the edges and whatnot. And I know I had watched a Let's Resin where they were putting flowers in something, and they actually, oh, my apologies, used, I don't think they were popsicle sticks. I think they were the round dowels, and they actually had them in the flowers, and so they could position them and keep them where they wanted while they were setting. So I want to find something like that. So I'm going to let you go again. Not really. And I'm going to see what I can find to help me just kind of keep this in a set place just while the 100 is sort of, you know, getting set up a little bit, and then we'll pour the rest of it. And again, I don't know, I don't have any idea how much resin this is going to take. And I'll decide whether or not I want a little bit of glitter in it. Be back. I am ready to carry on. I did find what I believe will work to keep my piece away from all the sides. I have 2 pieces of straw, and I have 4 of these micro brushes that we're going to use. And if the stars align, we'll be good. Will be good. So all I'm going to do is take the piece and put it in upside down, so that I, you know, if I were this on both sides, it really wouldn't matter. I put it whichever way I wanted. But because we've got the flowers, so we're going to put this in upside down. And I'm going to have, as much as I thought about putting the brads right sort of in the corner here, I actually think, you know what? I don't want them right in the corner. I want them here, just sort of near the front on the side here. I don't know why. I just feel that that'll be a nice place for them. I guess I don't want them to hide. So all I'm going to do, and I did test this out earlier because I didn't want to take up your time, trying something and go, oh, I got to go away and figure this out again. So we're going to do the 2 straws at the side. And then very carefully, and I'm going to apologize, I'm bringing this closer to me because I just want to make sure, actually, let me just move this a little bit manually by hand. Okay, so we'll put these back in. Oops, and I just got a piece of dust in my piece, so I'm going to have to get rid of that. So let's get my gloves off and get rid of that right now. And I guess what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to find one of my tall pots lids, something to put over top of this so that I don't get all kinds of dust in it, because we're going to do this either, I'd like to only have to pour twice. The only thing is, again, I don't know how much it's going to take. And I made up 100 mils. I also added in some of the Nuvo Pure Sheen, and this is, what's the color of this? Glitter Violet Infusion, and it's a pretty, and I kind of went with something a little darker because I thought it would fit with the colors on the front, like of the canvas. Okay, so let me get this in a corner that it needs to be in first, because that one was just going to slide right down, and maybe, okay, we just got to, the last thing I want to do is have these end up in the resin. That wouldn't work very well. What's annoying is when you put these in, I had them in before and they were fine. So maybe it's just a matter of getting them all in and then we'll be good. Like I said, I just want to keep them far enough away from, away from it, so I'm not having to do too much work if I have to. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. So very carefully moving it back into camera view. And I'm going to cross my fingers, and I'm going to make sure, like when I pour this in, I want to make sure that I am not going to be touching the straws, and I'm not too worried about, but I'm going to have to make sure that these aren't in it because, well, that's just going to ruin the piece. Anyway, so we made up 100 mil. I put in a limited amount of the glitter because I don't need a lot. And let me just clean off my stick and then I'll show you. Hopefully you can see okay if I do that. So hopefully you can see there's not a lot of glitter in there. And we're very carefully going to pour this. So fingers crossed for me. And we're just going to very carefully pour this. And I don't care if, obviously it gets on there. So we're just going to pour this really carefully in. And probably what I'll do, this is when my, oh, you know what? I sometimes wonder why I bought my Lazy Susan when I'm not using the darn thing. But we'll very carefully move this around. Yeah, my Lazy Susan would have been a beautiful thing to have. Maybe I'll do a little bit on this side now. And I'm going to really hope and trust that I might have to clean this up a little bit at the end of the day when we're done. And I guess the other thing I should have done, and hopefully I am right at the very bottom, I didn't push that down. But maybe once we've got it in, then I can just make sure that, and I don't want to get any of this resin on those straws at all. So very carefully. Yeah, I gotta really watch what I'm doing. And I kind of wish I had, you know what, I'll put my other glasses on and then that'll make it a little bit easier for me to hopefully see how deep we're going. And I guess part of me thinks I should pour some on the inside of this too, so let's do that. Because I really want to be able to to, when I do the next layer, is I would really like to not have the sticks in it and whatnot. All right, how we're doing. I can't see really well. I feel like I'm in between glass, like needing to have one set of glasses that does everything for me. But anyway, being very, very cautious. Here's where the long period of time is going to take me to make sure I get this just right. And again, this is going to be one of those projects that if you're not interested in, oops, don't hit it, Natalie. Sort of one of these projects that's going to take you a bit of time. And I think it's just sort of initially it's going to take you a bit of time. It's just the finicky little stuff you got to do. And I don't mind finicky as long as I kind of have a process and I know what I'm doing and whatnot. Okay, now where are we with the resin? I mean, we've got some of the... Oh, I can't see without them. I don't want my head getting in the way of this. Okay, well, we're just going to keep pouring. We're just going to keep pouring and get more of the resin in. And like I said, I'm going to let this sit for about 2 hours. And then we'll come back. And hopefully by then it'll be set enough that I can pour more in it. I maybe wait 3 hours. That might be a better bet. The screen one doesn't want to stay put very well. Okay, so I kind of want to I just want to move this around just very carefully. Again, this is where the Lazy Susan certainly would have come in perfect for me. Let's straighten you up. That one just does not want to stay. Yeah, won't it? I really hope it doesn't. I'll have to just really double check these once I'm off camera to make sure that we're not, because I've always found that resin, because of its density, is, 100 mils goes a lot further, and I gotta let that drain down, or I'm gonna end up having it on the sticks. The resin, like 100 mils of resin, fills up a much bigger space than what 100 mils of mixed mold does. And not that this matters, it's sitting on the top, but I want to push it down the sides anyway. And I really haven't figured out what I want to do on the bottom of this yet. So that's something else I'm going to have to give some consideration to. Do I want a dark, bottom on this? Do I want a clear? Like, what do I want? And I right now don't know. Let's just do this end again. Yeah, so I haven't quite decided on that yet. So I guess that's one of the other things. I do have some purple glass pieces, so I could do that. So I'll just have to see what I've got to decide what I want to do where. So I'm almost done pouring this. And again, I'm being really careful because I don't want to hit. And I think I'm going to end up having to lift those pieces up because this is getting quite high in there, which is good because I'll need less resin to fill it up. But let's just get this. A little nerve-wracking, eh? There you go. Canadian A. I have been working, well, for many, many years, not to say A after everything, but, you know, sometimes it's what we do here in Canada. Okay. I'm not going to play around trying to get the last little dribbles out of that. I'll put that into something else. So I am going to bring this piece closer to me very, very, very carefully, because I want to make darn sure that this stuff, these aren't. Now maybe if I'm lucky, I'm not sure. Yeah, it'll come back in. So I'm just going to lift these all up, because I want to make sure they're dry. I'm going to put them up a little higher. I'm just checking them to make sure they're not wet, and they're, so far the 3 of them haven't been. Okay, those are fine. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe my straws are fine too. Yeah. So we'll just leave them like that. Yeah, my resin isn't up to them. All right. Up. And that one got caught on my hands. That's where when I talk about your gloves and whatnot, making sure they're clean of resin, so when you do something like this, you're not don't pull it out. I hate when that happens. Actually, that's one of my pet peeves, is when I've got something sticky on my hands, like on my gloves, and then it just decides and takes off on its own. So there we have it. This corner one, I don't know whether it's not the same size as the other ones or what. All right. Okay. We are not touching that. Seriously not touching that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can't find something just sort of to put over top of it that will not touch any of those pieces I've got. I'll put the rest of my resin in something, somewhere. I'm not sure what, and that doesn't matter. And then in about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how comfortable I feel, we'll come back, and hopefully this is set enough that I can take these pieces out, make up, like, and have more resin made up, and then fill it up some more. That's sort of that's my hope. So wishing us luck on that one. So I will see you back here in a bit. This has been sitting for 4 hours now. I have this cake lid that's been over top of it. Unfortunately, I had everything down, the sticks down far enough that, you know, I didn't have to worry about it hitting. I'm going to make up some more resin, and then I'm going to debate whether or not to pour more resin in and then pull these sticks out, or if I would be better off just pulling them out and pouring. A part of me wants to pour with them still in, so that I, you know, get equal amounts of resin on either side. I don't have to worry about the resin, you know, pushing things in or, you know, out kind of idea. It should be set, I'm thinking, enough now that it won't be a concern, but I don't want to risk having something go wrong with this. So that decision will be made when I've got my resin made and we go to pour it. What I want to do when I get to the point is, so we have this base here, and I want to put something on it, and I want to do it in such a way that it stays like just on this part here. And I would move this, but, you know, don't want to do that. And what I was thinking of using was these iridescent, and let me put some in my hand, iridescent beads that I got at Michael's. And hopefully you can see them in my hand. And I thought they'd look really nice just on that oval piece. And then what I would do is I would fill up the rest of the container with resin to the point where I'm just above my canvas piece. And then what I want to do is I want to put this purple, this deep purple, on the very bottom, so that it's got sort of 2 layers, and I wasn't 100% sure whether that would be a good idea, but I think it'll be a cool idea. So when you look inside, the very bottom, as long as I can keep things where I want them to, and that's why I only want to come up so high. And when I go to do that, I'm going to be really careful that I don't drop any of these iridescent beads down the sides. Like, I mean, it'll be level, but I don't want it to go, you know, out and block my canvas piece at all. And if you don't understand that, you will more when I go to make it. So I'm going to have to be really careful with that. And then get it up just above my canvas here, and then mix the last of the resin up and put the glass purple pieces as my very bottom layer. And I think the purple's close enough to the colors that are in the canvas itself that I think it'll look really cool, and I'm not really concerned about them matching up with the inside of the canvas where I did the stenciling and whatnot. Anyway, I'm going to mix up my resin, and I'm not sure how much to mix up. I'm really not, and I don't know whether to go with, you know, 200 and see how far I get. And then if I had to make more, I could make more. So maybe I'll do 200, because again, once it gets to this gray bottom, I want to stop, because I don't really think I want to get resin like just covering that and then do my beads. I figured it might be easier to do it just getting it to the bottom top of that and then doing my beads. So we'll make up 200. We'll see where that gets me, and I'll decide whether or not I'm going to take those sticks out so that I can easier manage getting the resin around. I'd like to think it's been sitting enough that it's not going to move, and that I'm going to be able to keep everything where I want it to be. But we shall see, or if I leave them in just long enough. But I got to be really careful I don't hit them and get them into the resin. So I'll go mix up my resin. You might hope that I have decided whether or not I'm going to take these pieces out or not. I think for right this moment, I'm going to leave them in. Now I'm going to bring this closer to me, but keeping it within your view range. And we're going to pour this, and we're going to do our best just not to disturb too much. And I want to see about getting it on both sides so I can build it up and then be able to take those pieces out, because I feel once there's resin on either side that it will support itself enough that I can take them out. So let's just get pouring this and see how far we get. And I may need to take tape to the top of this. Yeah, see, okay, so these are going to have to come out, or I'm going to have to clean them, because I've got it rushing. And like I say, again, I don't know how much this mold will take of resin. I don't even know how much the full thing would take of ceramic resin, but it's, and I've got, so this is going to be one of those moments where I'm going to try and talk to you, and one of these moments where I just got to keep my concentration on pouring so I can build it up on both sides. Yeah, I'm going to end up taking those out because I know I'm going to start running into those pieces. It's hard to say. I don't know how far this 200 will take me, because I did make up 200 mils. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know, people. So I've really been appreciating everybody, your comments. Especially too, I always appreciate when people are providing me with tips on certain things. Now, one question I have that I asked in a group I am part of on Facebook, and maybe at some point I'll do a membership for being intentionally creative. But anyway, is in regard to, yeah, I'm hitting the resin's hitting that. In regards to mixers, so I'm curious to know if any of you use a mixer, especially when it comes to your, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention. I was noticing it was sort of bent in on the side there a little bit. If any of you use a mixer for your resin, I know Isotoa has a mixer out, and I believe Let's Resin has one out, and there are probably some other companies out there that have the mixers. And I'm just wondering if anyone has one and what you think of it. Because sometimes I don't get my mica powders. I do my best to get my mica powders all mixed in, but sometimes I'm sure you've found that it can be a bit of a challenge. So I just wonder if any of you use one of those blenders. And if you do, what you think of it and what the brand is. So if you don't mind commenting below, that would be awesome. Because I sometimes think about getting one, and I think other times, no, don't bother. But I would be curious to know what you think. And that gets me thinking about, as I plug in my camcorder so it doesn't decide to cut out like I've had to do in the past because I haven't been paying attention to the battery power. Okay, we're getting close to getting up to the top of this. And I'm turning it very carefully, obviously, because I want to get it even all the way around. And I seriously don't know, and I might be able to. So here's a thought. I was thinking, maybe I can't go all the way up to the top of the outside with my resin, but I'm thinking I might be able to. Just because it will have set, I think, enough, 4 hours, that maybe I can, so I don't have to, you know, if I have leftover, I don't have to, you know, try and make something else. Just having a look-see. It's looking good. I'm definitely going to have to take my sticks out. Definitely going to have to take out the sticks. So I'm almost, there's a part of me wanting to do that now and just see how it, I'd like to think, because I'm filling up inside and outside, that the support that it needs will be there. So let's just see what happens. It's a good test. It's a good test to do that now. So I can see, I mean, I'm almost up level with the bottom of it. What's that word? Bottom, right. And I definitely would have had to have taken these pieces out. Otherwise, they'd have fused in place, which is not something I would want. So a bit of a painstaking kind of project. I will admit to that. I want that one. And I just want to push this resin off the edge. If I have to clean up resin, I want it to be a very limited amount. I don't have to think too hard on that. All right, we're looking pretty good here, people. We're looking pretty good. I definitely think it's worthwhile to do what I did so that we don't have the piece pushing in on any of the sides, right? And then the potential is that the resin doesn't get where it needs to go to, and you're having to fill it in when you're all said and done. So I think this is worth the effort that I've put into this. I'm getting resin dripping down the side of my container. So we have a little bit more we can put on the inside here. So have any of you done this kind of thing before? That's, I think, an interesting thing, because I'm sure I'm not the only one to do stuff like this. I wish I could remember. There was an artist, a resin artist I watched, probably the last time I looked at any of her work was probably about a year ago. Oh, she did magnificent. She did layered, and she could paint. So she was doing layered pieces, and oh my gosh, the work she did was absolutely beautiful. I don't paint. I don't paint really well. I mean, I don't paint. And I don't draw worth much, but, you know, I can make some really fantastic dioramas as long as I have my Cricut and stencils and that type of thing. I can make it work. But she painted. Oh, some of the pieces she did were just amazing. And it's like, I hope you're charging, you know, I hope you're charging the right amount for your work, because it was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And if I could remember her and I come across her again, I will make note of that. But yeah, her work was something else. Yeah, it was beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to clean this up. I think some of that's the leftover resin from earlier. That's why it's not coming up. And that is too. That's not. So I'll do my bestest. I think I'm only going to put a little bit more on the inside here. I'm a little concerned, especially as I move my way up, to go up to the top. I thought maybe I could, but I'm afraid it's going to push the material, the canvas in, and I don't want that. I want it to stay away from the sides as it is now. So I think we'll leave the outside where it is. I'm just wanting to get this inside up high enough that it's just pretty much level with the bottom of that. And I'm very close. And the other thing I want to stop doing is moving it, because each time I'm moving, I'm pushing it in a little bit, and I don't want to, you know, I want to sort of get it set and say, okay, we're done. And it probably won't matter, you know, if I go up over the sides just a little bit, but I want to keep it as close to without going over the sides as possible. So I'm definitely going to, 100 might have been enough. 100 might have been enough. And hopefully my table is level. That would be a really beautiful thing too. Now I noticed this corner's pushed in a little bit more than I'd like it to, but we're just gonna have to deal with that. If I ever figure out how to do this and have it, you know, perfect, I'll let you know the trick. I'll let you know the trick. So we're just going to put a little bit more around. I'm not going to move it anymore. It's going to stay where it is now. It's interesting because as I put the resin in, and so it's got to spread itself around the sides, right? So I'm trying to be very, very careful not to, as I say, to keep it as close to that level bit without really going over, because I really don't want to. So I'm going to have to figure out now what to do with the rest of this that I have. Because I'm not really sure. Didn't have a plan for that. I'm going to want to add something else and just sparkle to it. I've been working on the Christmas tree that I got from Temu. I've been making a number of those, and I think I'm going to have to level it out somehow, because it doesn't, it pours okay. I mean, I'm making sort of some test pieces because I'm, you know, sort of coming up with an idea for them. But yeah, I think that's level enough. But I think it needs to be level. And Yeah, so always fun and games, eh? Let's get a couple of more drops in there. And if you're not having fun watching me do this, by all means, fast forward through to the next part, which I haven't gotten to yet, but you'll be able to get to. Okay. I'm not sure I want to put any more in this. You know how I do that though, right? I say I'm not going to put any more in, and then I sort of put a little bit more in. Okay. Silence ensues. So how much have I got left? I've got just, I think, probably around 100 mils, say, maybe about 80 mils left in that. So I really need to write down. So I've used 220 mils of resin so far. I think we're good. I don't think I'm going to do any more, like put any more in it. And I'm not overly concerned about, you know, I might just leave those drops. They probably won't matter. I can decide to clean them up later anyway. Like when I put my iridescent baubles on the bottom of this, it shouldn't really matter too much. And yeah. So this is one of those stop-start kind of videos because I've got to let it sit and do its thing. As I'm, you know, figuring out, okay, so the next piece of this is this, and then the next piece. So really, we have, I would say, the iridescent on here. Once they've sort of set, then I'll add more resin in to get it just above the canvas. So next after that will be the purple. So I have 3 more steps to do with this before we will be able to take it out of the mold. I'm really hoping that if I time it right, I can get, well, I may not get all 3 done today, but we'll see. It's one of those. Now, I'm kind of noticing this side here is pushing it a little bit, and I'm not sure. The only thing I can think of doing is potentially putting something in it, something like go this way to push it out. I'm not really bothered by this side, and I mean there is room there, but it is kind of close. But hopefully, just not sure what I can put in there to keep it, and I'm just wondering if by pushing it out a little bit, it allows the resin to kind of get down in behind it and keep it away from that corner. Because I really don't know what else to do. Like, as I say, short of finding the right size and piece and shoving it down, I don't really have any other option. Anyway, we will leave it there. I have to let it sit for about, well, 3 hours anyways. And I might be able to sort of, I don't know whether I want to do that now or not. See, what I'm kind of thinking is I've got you here is to take some of that resin, mix in some of those, and very carefully, like I say, I want to keep them right on top. You know what? That's what we're going to do, because otherwise this is going to take me longer than I want it to. And I think I can very carefully, very safely put them around. So let's try it to see if that is going to work. So I am going to mix those up into a separate container because I know I don't want them all in there. And then once I have some mixed up, then we'll go through the process of very carefully laying them down here so I can maybe do 2 parts at once, which would be kind of cool. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I have my beads, and I did turn this if you hadn't noticed. because I thought it'd be easier for me. I have mixed up my beads in some resin, and I don't care if I have to pour clear resin in the bottom of this when we take it out. I'll be cool with that. Because, you know, if these are sticking out, and you know what, it might not really matter if it's got a bit of a textured bottom on it. I'm not overly concerned with that. So again, I'm going to bring this very carefully toward me because I need to be able to see, obviously. You're still in sight. And I'm going to start in the center. And we're going to be like super careful. I am not gonna, you know, sort of, I guess if, you know, I have the odd piece that's, you know, goes down the side fair, but if I can avoid that, oh, you can better bet I'm going to. So it's just a little bit at a time. Patience. Again, you may want to fast forward through this. This is another one of those, this is going to be a long video because of the steps I'm taking. But yeah, this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to, as carefully as I can, and keeping that I'll start in the center, right? And hopefully my resin and these beads will cooperate and not get out of whack. And I've got something in there, I saw that earlier, so let's get rid of that, whatever it is. So yeah, this is all I'm gonna do. This is that one of those therapeutic kind of things, eh? Where you just kind of, the beauty and the laziness of it. And if we need to mix some more up, we will, but I'm hoping not. And you may wonder why I haven't gone over, you know, didn't put more in the center. It's because I just, as I say, I don't want these going over the edge. The plan is just to have them in the bottom and not anywhere else. So that's why I'm being a little more than cautious. Again, you know, all part of the process if some of these go over, but I don't want them to. And as far as it being, you know, level, I'm not too worried about that either. Not too worried about that either. If I can get this all around the edges like I want to, I will be very, very happy. Very happy. And what I might do is get one of my toothpicks and just sort of very carefully nudge these to the edge. And I'm probably going to have to turn this around again. So, you know what I'm going to do, just so that you don't have to, there we go, we're going to be careful. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to finish this up, and when I've got it done, then I'll let you see the finished, and I should probably take the rest of my resin and do something with it, but I'll let you see it when I get this done. I decided to clean up a little bit. It was getting a little messy on my desk, and I thought, let's get cleaned up before we bring people back. And in your case, you're just going to move on to this section. Alrighty. I got them all in. I was very careful. I did use a toothpick towards the sides and the ends to make sure. Now, I'm just going to stand up and have a quick look. So far, we look good. It doesn't look like any of them have fallen off the side, and if they have, I won't know that until later. I was being as careful as I could, and I'm really kind of hoping that with the sort of the weight of those glass beads, that they will hold the resin and they won't fall over the sides. Again, I'm not going to know that unless I come back later and all of a sudden I have nothing on the top, which it wouldn't all pull like that. I shouldn't say that it could, but I don't expect it to. I haven't gone over it with a long nut lighter. I'm just going to let this sort of do its own thing. When we take it out, if there's an issue with the bottom, as I mentioned, I can always put a clear coat of resin on the inside of that just to coat it, or we kind of go with the pebbly look if that happens as well. So I'm totally cool with that because it's meant to be for potted plant or something like that, or just a decoration. There's probably a number of different things. Where are we off to next? Well, I have to let this sit. Again, I'm probably going to let this sit for 3 or 4 hours. Am I going to get time to work on it again today? I'm hoping to, because it'd be really nice actually if I could, if nothing else, get the next layer of clear on top of this and then do the final layer with the glass, the purple glass. So fingers crossed I can do that. I'm hoping, and I'm figuring I'm only going to make 100 mils the next time. I used, what did I figure? I used about 120 to do what I did. I'd like to think I would only need 100, but if I have to mix up more, then that's totally cool, right? Because we do what we have to do, and then I'm going to be marking down, this is how much this needs in resin. Granted, taking into consideration the next time if I didn't do those glass beads, the insert, then I can adjust it a little bit, but at least I'll have a ballpark on it. And because I couldn't let the other resin sit, that was the other thing I needed to get finished up. I have made the lid of a gift box that I have. So I just took the rest of the glass beads, I added some yellow mica powder, some green alcohol ink, and some glass just to kind of build it up a bit. And I'm just going to end up doing, I think, a clear coat and maybe putting something in it. And I already have the base of this piece made. So this is just, it was like, just find something, because I could feel the resin starting to get hot. And it was important to me that I take care of that. So we're just going to take one of my, fancy dancy little tops. We're going to put that on top of there. And I guess when I'm ready to mix up more resin, we'll come back and we'll see what we can do, and we'll carry on. We'll get this done. I know we're going to get it done. It's just one of those labor of love intensive pieces. Well, this definitely is proving to be a long video, but I think we are finally in sort of the last legs of this journey. It has been 4 hours since we did the beads, and from what I can tell, nothing's fallen over the side. Yay me. What I'm going to do now is, and it's kind of funny, so I have to share this with you. So I was in my other room today and I saw my Lazy Susan. I'm thinking, well, that would have been brilliant if you'd brought that, but I'm not going to stop my video to go run and get it. We're just going to go from here. What I have noticed is that as much as I was worried about, my canvas coming in, it's actually gone out. So what I want to do now is I want to very carefully pour resin on the outside, because I don't want to push that canvas any closer to the outside of this. I want to attempt somewhat, probably can't do it, but at least I want the resin on the outside now, and then we'll do it on the inside. And my plan for the inside is to, and maybe what I could do is if I fill out the outside and let it flow in. I had thought maybe pour the resin over the top of this, and I'm thinking, no, don't do that. The better option is to have it flow on top of it to keep it. I have done up 200 mils. Well, that's a lie. I probably have closer to 250 mils of resin. So I'm just going to move this like this because I want to be able to see, so I can put this on the outside. We're very carefully going to go around the outside because I don't want to push this out anymore. I want to, if I can, and if the resin will play with me properly, sort of push it in versus out. And if you're very lucky, and for me, if I'm very lucky, I'm going to wait the 4 hours I need to potentially to do the very top with the purple. But because I'm thinking this is taking me hours, I'm not sure how long this video is going to last for you, but I'm thinking if I can get this done today, which by the time you get to see this, it won't be today anymore, it'll be later, that, yeah, this is a long video. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm trying to do as much as I can so that I can get this done and up for you guys when I want to get it up for you. And yeah, we'll see how we can do this. So I hope whatever you're getting up to today, it's been a beautiful day for you. When I was taping this video, we were getting the offshoots of Hurricane Beryl. I'm not sure if it's going to rain anymore for me here, but we definitely got a lot of rain. I had said to my stepdaughter, you know what? I'd really like if we could just get a rain, like a soft, gentle, well, not that it was really soft and gentle, but like a steady rain for part of a day versus the downpours we've been getting. And then when it started to rain this morning, I said, I think I've got what I asked for. It's one of those, you know, you ask the universe, and if you're lucky, well, you just have to believe and ask the universe and get what you want. I do believe that. I need to start believing more, not only in the universe, but in myself as well. I don't know if any of you other artists out there sometimes don't believe in your craft, but if you're doing this and you're creating beautiful things that others would not spend the time doing, then that's an awesome thing. I'm sort of tired of not necessarily believing in what I'm doing, because I look at what I've done and I look at the time I'm spending on things and I'm going, you're creating some pretty awesome things. So if you're out there and you're creating, I'm going to say you're creating some pretty awesome things. So keep going. And as I've found, and I'm learning, I'm getting better and better at what I'm doing. I'm learning. Yeah, I'm making mistakes. Yeah, things aren't always working out for me the way I want them to. But I'm learning from everything I'm doing. And that, to me, is an absolutely beautiful thing. So I share that with you in case you're questioning what you're doing. You know, if you're doing it for yourself, then enjoy that you're doing it for yourself. You know, don't shortchange yourself. I know how easy it is to do. Trust me. I know how easy it is to do, but don't. So, you know what? It's kind of interesting. When I made up this resin today, this last little bit, I'm thinking, do 200 because you got to fill the interior of this, right? So I'm just going to keep working on the outside, because I really do. If I can push this in, I want to. Just very carefully going along the sides here. Very, very carefully. This is too funny. Okay. So if it slides on the inside, I don't really care. Just going to keep working on this. So I'm curious, are you excited to see this come out? I am excited to see this come out. I'm fingers crossed this comes out the way I expect it to. Because I've been, like I said, I've been wanting to do it with one of my canvases. And my thing was trying to find a mold I could do it with. And hopefully this one won't prove me wrong. I guess the only sad thing about it is the fact that it's matte and it's not glossy. So let's very carefully now. I'm just going to start pouring, and I'm just going to keep around the edges. Because like I say, I want to push. If anything were to move, I want it to push in, not out. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping you're as excited about this as I am. But it's been a long journey to get this to this point, eh? Don't you just love when you're working on a piece of art and it's like, okay, I'm in the stretch now. I'm in home stretch. And I had thought of only making 100 mils, and I went, but you have to fill the interior of this. Therefore, 100 mils is probably not going to get you where you want to go, because you want to be above that canvas. And if I have too much, I am totally cool with that, because I still have the rest of my lid to make up. So we'll just keep going. Keep going. Nothing's moving, so, well, at least I'm not. I don't think I have to worry. It's been like being 4 hours. Okay, so now I want to be careful because I do want to have I do want to get that purple in the bottom of that. Because I do want to cover up the canvas. I mean, if I had, and I don't even think it would look right. So if I had cut out a canvas piece to sit on the top of this, I don't think it would have looked right because this, and the only thing that might have been potential is if I had this outer piece and then had another piece I could have attached somehow. And how I would have done that, yeah, pretty much beyond me. That's above what I'm ready to do right now. So we're just going to keep going a little bit more. Again, I'm hoping my table is relatively flat. So let's just pour this because I know the inside of this, the resin's got to go up. The iridescent beads are not me, so that's brilliant. I think my choice of 200 mils, yay me. And if I'm lucky, I will still be awake in a few hours to be able to drop off. All right, never mind. To finish this up with the purple glass. I'm just going to go around the edge here because I know I had some spots where, you know, some of the resin had slid down the sides. I just figured it might be a good idea to go around. So I still have a little bit of a lip on the canvas, so let's just keep pouring. And hopefully by doing the resin on the outside first, we will have prevented the canvas from pushing out anymore. That's the hope here. That 200. Okay, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop pouring resin in here, and the only reason I think I want to do that is it doesn't look, as I back up, and I don't want to take my camera with me, I'm almost level, and I don't want to run the risk of not having enough space for my purple. I really want to get a layer of the purple on here. So I am going to stop with this now. We can do a quick with this. I might even just do, no, that's going to run out, do my alcohol spray. I'm trying to find out which one of my butane lighters is still relatively good, but I think I'm going to stop there, and I may be back in a few hours my time, seconds in your time, and pour the final coat on this. This has been a very labor intensive piece, and how much have I got left in this? Not a heck of a lot. I've got probably 25 mils of resin left in here, which I'm just going to take and pour into the other piece I showed you earlier. But yeah, I'm going to leave this now, and I may be back in a few hours. I kind of like to. I'd like to have it done just so it's done. And yeah, I think we're looking pretty good, people. I think this is going to look really well. I've got my fingers crossed. This is going to look awesome when I get it done. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to pour any more resin in this. And then we'll just top coat it with the purple glass, just so it can cover all of this up. And if there's any, I mean, it's good. This you know, I kind of think to myself, so do you not want to put a little bit more in so you're right up to the top? But at the end of the day, this is the bottom of this piece. So we'll see. Anyway, I hadn't, you know, I had almost thought, do you really need to show them pouring this in? But I thought, no, it's part of the project. You give your audience the whole deal. Anyway, fingers crossed, I'm back in 4 more hours. I may not wait 4 hours. I waited the 4 hours because of the beads, the iridescent beads. I may only wait, let's say 3 hours to do the top coat because it should have set enough. And I guess one could think, well, the glass might be, it's not heavy glass, and depending on how I do it, I may not have to do it really with a lot of it. Anyway, I'll be back in 3 to 4 hours, and I will see you then. We're getting there. We're on the basically last leg of our journey as far as the last top coat goes, and I apologize because I'm trying to get my hand inside my glove, and my hands are really warm and the glove's hot, and I shouldn't have taken it off, eh? See how it looks right now? I'm going to take this off. My hand has got to cool down. I've got other gloves I can put on, but hopefully it'll work better. Anyway, so let's have a look at this. Alrighty, put that over there. Okay, so I did notice when I've come back to look at this that some of those iridescent glass beads have floated up to the top. Am I worried about that? Well, I could be worried about it, but I'm not, and it wouldn't do me any good if I did get worried about it because there's nothing I can do about it. I'm definitely not touching it. I'm not going to try and take them out. There's just no point in doing that. So what I've done already is I've mixed up my resin. I have my mini glass purple beads in this pot, and I'm just going to mix it up, and I'm going to do the same thing for this that I did when I was doing that. I'm going to do the layering, and then, you know, I kind of don't want it too thick, but we'll see how it goes. I didn't want to just pour all kinds of these rocks into my resin and then pour it over. I thought, well, let's do it a little differently. Now, it's possible too that this resin has settled down a little bit, so there may be some of this purple that shows up lower than I want it to, but again, well, as people used to say to me when I worked in the corporate world, it is what it is, and it was a saying I did not like. I'm going to say it is what it is, because I'm not going to take time to level this out with more resin and then do it. It's just, this has been a very labor-intensive project, and I want to get us to the end of it. So we'll do the same thing as we did before. And at least this time I don't have to be as careful doing it as I was the first time. So it all depends on how much time and effort you want to put into a piece like this. I'm excited to see how this looks out, comes out, turns out, just because it was something I wanted to do. I might want to do it on a smaller scale next time, where I just, you know, maybe don't bother with those beads there, and, you know, do the bottom a solid color and don't have as many layers and. But again, this was the first kick at it, so I want to bring it back closer to me, and we'll get putting these on, and we'll see how far we get. And what I might do is, like I did with the last one, I'll show you a bit of how I'm going to do this, and then I'll go off and I'll do it, and then I can bring you back when it's done. So I guess it doesn't matter where I start, does it? Because we have the... We're doing this as our last layer. I made up 100 mils of resin. Again, I had thought maybe of doing 60, and I thought I don't really want to be making up any more resin. color reminds me of the grape popsicles my mom used to make for us when we were little kids. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of air bubbles in this, which is totally expected. I will like this will settle out, and I will use something to try and, you know, spread it out a little bit so that, you know, it's flat where it needs to be. But we'll just work on getting this done first before we, you know, get too worried about that. It'll all get balanced out at the end. So I hope you've been enjoying this video so far. Lucky for you, you can skip through to get to the end of it. As I say, it's been pretty labor intensive, but again, it's one of those things. It's just like I've been wanting to do this. So as much as there were moments of like, can we be done this yet? It's like, there's a reason you're doing it, Natalie. So just enjoy the process. Just enjoy the process. And I'll be definitely taking my lighter over top of this so that I can get rid of as many air bubbles as possible. Because with this glass, there's definitely going to be some in here. Okay, so let me just get the rest of this out and then we'll spread it out and see how we're doing. Oops. Won't be winging that anywhere. And I think these, my black gloves, I'm going to have to get a new pair after this because they're getting rather sticky. As much as I use them as long as I can, and then eventually it just gets to the point where I go, and we're done. And we're done. Okay, what do I want to use to spread this out? Maybe this. Yeah, it's just kind of going, what's she doing? Trying to figure out which way I want to go. And we got a piece of something on that. I hate when I see something on my stir sticks. Drives me nuts. But I am grateful that I usually see them so they don't end up in my pieces. That's off to this end. Wow. Very purpley, very dark. So hopefully it's not too dark when we're done, but and I could have done the beads on the bottom of this if I'd wanted to, but I thought this would be, it blended, to me it was a, let's blend it in with what you've got going on with the actual art piece. Okay, so I'm definitely going to have lots of resin left over, which is okay because I've still got this one piece over here that is in need of more resin for my lid. So I don't have a problem with that. That over there. This makes it. And maybe we'll go over this with my lighter. And actually the easier thing probably would be just to spray it with alcohol, because this is going to take a little bit of time. So I'll probably just do that. Let's just go over it with alcohol because that lighter isn't as strong as it used to be. And I'm putting about 4 spoonfuls in each time I'm doing this. Let me add a little bit more resin to this one. And I'm trying to debate too whether or not I just want to very carefully drizzle some resin over top of this so that I get more of a resin base than I get the glass base. Do that. We'll get this last little bit in here, and then we'll have a look-see at it. Oh, and I was trying to think if there was another question I had for you guys, but it's not coming to me. I really need to write these things down so I can say, okay, I'd like to know this. And I'm hoping that anyone who had hurricane barrel go through, that you are all okay. I've seen some pictures, and when the interesting thing is some places say where it is and that the hurricane had gone through, and other places, because of the language, I don't know where it is, and because I only speak English, I don't know what it says. And I know with some things you can get a translation, but I haven't been doing that. So I just hope everyone's okay. It came, the remnants of it have been through here where I live, and we got quite a bit of rain. And my backyard, we're the highest elevation in Ontario, which is beautiful. So I don't really have to worry about flooding. We'd have to get quite a bit. Anyway, we pretty much got a solid day of rain. And I do have a bit of a, I call it my pool in the backyard. In the wintertime, as the snow melts, there's a section of my lawn that, just because it's not, it doesn't have a slope to it, so the rain and water just sit there. I got a pool. I call it my pool. When I get a lot of water, I call it my pool. So I'll post a picture on my Facebook page so you can go have a look of it. And yeah, got quite a bit of it. And the birds, I have finches that come around, and interestingly enough, they were, when it wasn't raining too hard, they were out at their bird feeder, but unfortunately the wind did a really good job of blowing it all over the place. So yeah, I'm gonna have to fill my bird feeder up, but it's still raining a little bit, and I'm gonna wait until I've got a sunny day and it's relatively calm out there. Okay, so I still have some, I don't think I want to put any more of this in here. And I am going to keep an eye on this just because there's a lot of air bubbles, which is totally normal. I mean, I'm not surprised, and I can see them popping, but they're definitely a lot of air bubbles. So let's forget about that now. And actually, I'll wipe this off. So see, I got you to stick around for this whole part. But this was the easy part, because I just had to pour it on. I didn't have to sit and, okay, don't go over the edge of this and don't go over the edge of that. So let's very carefully, I'm going to drizzle some of this on, so we can just kind of flood it without it, disturbing it all. So I definitely didn't need 100 mils of this, which is, I mean, again, it's fair. I've had too many times where I've had to make up more, and as much as I have, this over here, I could always pour it into something else too. Halloween's coming, The Michael's here, and I'm sure the other stores, they're starting to get their Halloween out, and I'm always amazed by that. I'm thinking, you realize we're in July, right? Halloween's the end of October, but I do get it. You want to get stuff in early and you pique people's interest so that they buy. But yeah, it's kind of amusing sometimes. It's just like the back to school. We're in the end of June, and starting the middle of July. It's like, here, back to school, and I'm thinking the kids must be going, okay, I just got out of school. Can we just not be talking about back to school? So I'm just running this along the sides. Not that it's a big deal, and I'm having, my toothpick is coming up, but I just thought it'd be worthwhile to do. And I don't know if I'm going to get air bubbles because of, this not being a really, really tight mold, and because it's in here. So we'll just, yeah, just have to see how it goes. Anyway, I think I've almost got this to the top. It's going to definitely be an interesting piece when it's done. Fingers crossed this comes out exactly the way I want it to, or close to it. And then you can decide if you ever want to spend this much time. Now, I've been able to do other things. Don't get me wrong, I can do other things while pieces like this are going on. You really begin to appreciate the amount of time you're putting into something like this, for sure. Now, let me just go down without taking things. Maybe we can put just a little bit more in that. So yeah, I would definitely, if you were doing this, watch your leveling, because you don't want to, like, I definitely don't want it coming up over the gray, because then that won't be happiness for me. So we'll just put a little bit, and we know that this is a really thick base, so I don't need to go silly crazy on this. So I think I'm going to stop. I'm going to let this thing sort of level itself out. I know we've probably got about that much thickness between the bottom, right, where, yeah, there's going to be a lot of space in here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this works out the way I want it to. You know, I've got thoughts going through my head now, but I'll just keep those to myself until we take it out. I am going to spritz this with the alcohol ink, because that'll make it a lot easier for me, and I think it'll help kind of settle the resin a little bit. I might put a little bit more on, but for right now that's sufficient for me. So there's a bit of weight to that, I won't lie. There's a bit of weight to that. I have a little divot right here, so I'll have to watch that. I might put a little bit more resin right there. I don't know why it looked like it sunk a little bit, and I don't know why. I shouldn't, unless, and the only thing I think of is unless because of this drizzling I'm doing, it's kind of making pockets in it. So really, fingers crossed for me that we don't have splotchiness. And if I do, then I'll just sand it down and I'll put a top coat on it. That'll fix that problem. But hopefully we'll be okay. And hopefully it might have been from me spraying the alcohol on it. So I'm going to let it sit for a little bit now, for sure. I'm going to come back. I'll probably go over it with my long nut lighter. But the next time you see this piece, it will be when we take it out of the mold, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's an easy task. But yeah, it won't be until this is ready to come out of the mold. So it'll be, for you, seconds. For me, it's going to be a day. I'll see you when it's time to take this out of the mold. We have finally made it. Oh my gosh, this has been a very long video for me, because there's been so many layers involved in this piece. I am happy to report we are able to take it out today. Before that, we're going to do a couple of other little pieces that I'm just going to do a quick demolding of, because I had some leftovers of some leftovers, and I thought I would just show them to you before we got to that. So this is just the lid I had been working on for the gift box that I have. And as I said, this was just a matter of, you know, using up resin. Okay, so there's the top of it. Came out pretty decent, actually. And then the very bottom of it, I just did glass in it to kind of fill it up. That was sort of my take on it. And if you give me a quick moment, why not add more time to this video, eh? Like it hasn't been long enough. Okay, so here's the bottom of the box. I did this a while ago. Okay, I think I'm going to move my camera up. So we'll just do like that. There we go. So just let me quickly, I'll adjust my camera. We'll get right back to this. I think that will be a little bit better for the demolding of that one. So yeah, I have pieces in this box, so it makes it a little heavier, and it's a fair sized box. It is a fair sized box we got there, but a pretty one. So depending on, you know, wanting to make one for somebody and put something in it for a gift for them, that's a pretty cool idea. This is one of the other molds I'd gotten from Temu, and I had leftovers, so I did this, and I'm sort of debating how I want to do the back of them, like as far as putting a color on them. So let's just see how it worked out, and we'll get this out. Carefully put that on there. So here's the basket. It's really pretty. It having a back on it, and then doing something with the front. And I have ideas with that. I've been playing with the Christmas tree that I got from Temu and coming up with some pretty cool ideas. So stay tuned. We might do a video on that because I've been having a lot of fun with the Christmas trees. They've been coming out very, very well. I've been posting them on my Facebook page, so if you're interested in seeing what I've done so far, you can go hop over there. And then there's that. I mean, they really are beautiful molds. I mean, I'm really happy with them. So there's a lot of room to be able to do some very cool things with these pieces. All right, that goes there. Throw my mold off to the side. Now let's get on to the big piece that I have been waiting to get out of the mold. I might have to put a really thin layer on the bottom of this, but I haven't decided on that yet. It's got a few bumps in it because of the glass, but not a big deal. So let's get this out of here. I don't know about you, but I just want this thing out, out, and out. Yeah, my impatience this morning, eh? All right. So we may not, well, we're not really going to be able to see really well, but maybe some of the pattern through. But let's just see how we made out. What a long process for this, eh? I have to fix it. There we go. Just had a piece of resin on the side of that. So I kind of think you can see. So it's interesting. Ooh, that looks cool. This looks cool. I'm sorry. I just need to get my mold turned inside out. I'm not going to sort of do the whole, you know, let's take 3 seconds and turn this around because I don't have the patience for that. Okay. Now, here we go. It's, you know what? I'm really impressed it's coming through this vividly with the fact that this is a matte mold. Like, that really impresses me. What's interesting here, and I'm not sure, you know what? It's kind of interesting because it looks like lines here. They're very, well, they are noticeable. But you know what the beautiful thing is about them? Is they're symmetrical. Well, no, that's not. Like, they almost look like they're part of the pattern. And I'm wondering if it's because of, like, we poured 100 first, and then the next layer we did was 200. So I'm thinking what it is, it's from the glitter I put in it. But I don't mind it. Wow, that's kind of cool. And then we've got our brads here. I've got some trimming to do on the bottom of that. And then the inside. So hopefully I apologize for you maybe not being able to see this very well. So let's sort of focus in on the bottom of that if you can. Oh, there we go. I just got to get the light in the right spot for you. So can you see the bottom here? And that looks really cool with the, oh, what's it called? Oh, this is so sad. I was so excited about getting this out of the mold. With the iridescent beads in the bottom. Now, the only thing that it's kind of a little unfortunate with the glitter on the inside because it's a little more noticeable because of how we decorated the inside. So would I do glitter again? Maybe not because I don't want, and I'm hoping you can see this as I'm turning. I'm watching my camera and it's unfortunate that you can't see it. I'll take pictures and get them on my Facebook page. I'm just wondering if I move my light, if that'll help any. I'm not sure. I'm trying to not knock my camera. maybe a bit better. Anyway, yeah, it looks neat on the inside. I'll take pictures with my phone, so maybe we can get some better. But wow, let me get the stones again. So there are a couple of air bubbles in the bottom of that, but I mean, really, considering what we were dealing with, not too bad, eh? Not too bad. This came out. This is heavy. There's a bit of weight to that. It's definitely going to take a bit of wind to blow that over. All in all, I mean, for the amount of time it took to do this, like, I'm impressed. You know, like, I'm impressed. My dad, if he were here, would be going, like, you know. But, yeah, I'm not going to take time on camera to do a clear coat on this. But just imagine, and if I do put a clear coat on it, I'm looking at this going, I'm not sure I want to put a clear coat on this. But if I do, I will most definitely be posting pictures on my Facebook page. But what do you think? I mean, for all the, I'm trying to get it in the light again. For all the intensity of doing this, yeah, I'm hoping you can see some of this. It's hard because it's so narrow in here. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video for as long as it's been. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and especially if you've stayed through for the whole thing. Again, this is one of the longer videos, but I have to say, I'm pretty pleased with this. I'm pretty pleased, so I want to try and turn it a bit. The lighting is just not, I don't know where to put it to get a decent amount of light in there. Anyway, I will take pictures. Thank you for watching, especially because this was a really long video. Thank you for any comments you give, any thoughts you have on any of this. Anyway, it's been a worthwhile journey on this one for sure. I hope whatever you're getting up to is creative in nature. I hope you're loving what you're doing. Thank you for liking and subscribing and any comments. Take care. Bye for now.